Welcome back to the OPL, where we just saw Sin Gaming take game number 1 over Legacy Esports in what is our OPL Legend match. However, before we jump into breaking down game number 2, I do want to remind you guys at home that we want to know how you're watching and how you're supporting your favorite team. Jump on Twitter, use that hashtag IamOPL, show us how you're supporting your favorite teams during Super Week. Tweet your entries, as I said, with the hashtag 8MostCreative, will get a mystery skin, which is pretty cool. However, jumping back into this game, Sin, they would have had a game plan. Like, you can tell that's a premeditated comp. I mean, they even early picked the Nautilus. That's something that we haven't seen in a very long time. But this is Legacy. They got blown out of the water last week by Chiefs, and they bounced back like pretty scarily. Like, this is no strange territory. What are they going through right now? What are both teams trying to get done in the next game?
Well, I mean, Legacy have proved that they can bounce back from a series. I mean, even not last year, the last split in the finals, like they almost like reverse sweep the Chiefs. So like they're no strangers of being down in a series. Like they'll probably easily bounce back. Like Carbon and Minky are really good for mentality. So I think they can bounce back, and I think Sin just need to not get overconfident because they got that win. So they just need to look at the next game, like take it calm, and they can probably 2-0 if they want.
Yeah, nothing to be surprised about. They just need to pretty much identify what happened last game, right? Just bring in some safe wave clear. So, like, Graves doesn't have to walk up. And if he does walk up, just try and ulti the wave. Like, pretty much, they just shouldn't put themselves in that situation.
Yeah, and you were saying it a lot. Even with Jin Graves, that the double ulti should be that buys you a wave. That should be enough time for Tally to be able to get a positive trade, not give up an equal trade and then lose a kill on the back end because you're being a little bit greedy with your ultimate. So there still were things that they can do within that game that would have made it a little bit easier. You were talking about, Sin, they need to not get overconfident. Was that a comp thing? Do you reckon that's a one and done? Or do you think that the group up, because I'm thinking Ash, maybe Jin can do something similar. Otherwise, you maybe have to run a Sivir for the rush down mid comp. What else are you looking for out of this comp?
I guess like Sin are normally running like the Ashe Sivir. Like they want to put utility on their bot lane and they want to let like Squiggle and Rye like do the work. And that comp let them do it. Even like Squiggle went on the the Nautilus to support that as well. So they can easily do it again, I think. And I mean, if that doesn't work, they can still like always fall back to like their comfort of 1-3-1 or even just like a split push on Rye and a 4-1. So
something I want to pretty much focus on this one, and this goes to both teams, mostly since Sid had like a massive lead, but they didn't really convert it into anything. They just like even though they
won the game in 27 minutes. They did convert it into a Nexus destruction at some point.
It could have been a lot easier. Pretty much like, I just wanted them, whenever they get the vision control of Baron, there shouldn't be any hesitation in them going for it, right? Because they still want that fight to come through. And if they're pretty much preying on the hooks that constantly be coming out, just time and time again. And so they made the game a little bit harder.
Yeah, and we talk about this a lot. There are some comps that you look at and you have to bait. Like maybe if you're running double mages, like Lissandra top lane, okay, all of a sudden you're going to Baron to bait a fight.
Yeah.
But when you're running something like a Jax or a Nautilus that actually take like pretty much next to no Baron damage, that should be one of those comps that even if they come into you, you don't take damage anyway, so you may as well start up the objective, see if you can get it done.
Yeah, especially like they had so many, a lot of picks, right? They shouldn't. Pretty much Legacy should be extremely afraid to just be walking down Baron, like walking into the river, that is. So that should be their mindset, is that if we ever get like a lead like that, they should not be they shouldn't be afraid.
I mean, yeah, I think like even most of the picks that Sin got, Legacy kind of gave it to them. Like, sure, they got like one pick mid. Like Legacy can just like take it back a little bit. Like, okay, you got one pick. Like, we'll give you this tower. But instead of just giving him a pick and a tower, they decided to just one by one, just like walk into Sin and just like get hit by a hook, another hook, and they'd die. And then the next person would just walk in. It's like, what are you doing?
All right, cool. So maybe a little bit of a different mindset, Legacy, taking it into the next game. However, and I feel like I know which way this one's going. Before we jump into the game, I want to get your mindset on like how this one ends, Raz. Like, put your profit vision on, because yesterday you're pretty good. You got one of them. I actually think you got both of them right. You went with Direwolves in the end. You did a flip-flop like Fish.
Yeah, I flip-flopped.
Yeah, so who's going to win this next game? I don't want to care about the series. Is it going to 1-1, or is Sin closing this one out?
I think it's going to 1-1. Like I think Legacy is going to be like, they understand what went wrong, so they're going to be bringing it back.
All right, Rosie, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's going to be going back to 1-1 as well. Like, Yeah, as I said before, Legacy have proven that they can come back from a series and they can adapt really well.
All right, a lot of faith still on the analyst desk. We'll see whether that translates into anything as we are ready to get into Game 2 of our OPL Legend match. So here is Rogi and Rusty to take us there.
Thanks, Spawn. And the desk seems to be in unison about this going to 1-1 and Legacy. They're a very, very competent team constantly in their series going down in the early games, but they've got that mentality, they've got that confidence to get back in, pick up the pieces, and take it all the way to Game 3.
Yeah, I'd be shocked to see Legacy crumble coming into this second game. The mental fortitude of the team, the coaching stuff that they've got, they even have proper coaching in the way of traditional sports psychology to back them up. I feel like of all teams, Legacy have what it takes to bounce back. But Sin came into this game with a new strategy, a very heavy pick composition. It's something different to their traditional. And what we're about to see is potentially a full circle back to their strengths.
Yeah, look at this. Legacy, they don't want anything of what Sin brought last game. Instant bans on that Thresh and Ashe. So see your Rap, see your Rogue, and have to be playing something else. And Rai as well, with the Rise being taken away. So this is 100% focus on game number 1.
So Rek'Sai Twisted Fate and something else were taken from them in the first game, right? So now all of it's up again. It's like, well, this beat us. Let's not deal with that again. But you can have everything that you're good at that isn't this anyway. I think Legacy's basically just done a 180 and said, let's beat what just beat us.
That's exactly right here. So taking away all the benefits that Sin had last game, but leaving up their strongest compositions.
So they should actually just lock in Rek'Sai as the first rotation. They will give over potential carry options. I mean, yes, there's plenty of things, but that's number 1.
Yeah, there it is. Carbon getting himself the Rek'Sai. Unfortunately, his grades wasn't enough in terms of wave clear. Him being the only one with wave clear on that team to help survive the onslaught that Sin was bringing. So now he's on the Rek'Sai. Bit safer, bit more health. But Sin, they've got the pick of the litter here, per se. So what should they go with?
They definitely do. I think Sin being on red side, we've got red side Rymeister, probably don't want to lock away a mid lane rotation too early unless they really find it safe and valuable. Perhaps the Sivir for Raps if they decide it's ultimately necessary. Of course, this is the higher priority AD carry that's being hovered at the moment in Jhin. Even looking towards the option of Nautilus, which was a very peculiar early rotation. But you have to recognize what was banned from them in Game 1 no longer is.
Yeah, so Shen, he saw bans all throughout the night, but slipping through the cracks this time as Legacy was very focused on what they wanted out of Summoner's Rift tonight. So Shen in the hands of Squiggle, that global map pressure and presence, of course, that Stand United does provide on Jhin. We saw it hit in series number 1, a miss in the last game. What can Raps do?
Remember, Shen being locked in by Squiggle is actually just huge for that team, right? Because that unlocks already the 1-3-1 potential. The fact that Rymeister can now last pick Diana if they look towards it, of course, that's saying that that's just an option. The Shen to shield means you get in that back line, you're actually able to put in a lot of work. You've got Jhin who can sit so far back himself that you would ultimately deem it safe, no matter what is picked against him. And there's just so much flexibility for Sin's team composition as it stands already.
Well, Sivir and Braum still available here in Legacy. Choose to lock those in. Braum definitely in response to that Jhin damage that comes out, being able to block a majority of that one. And when Sivir is in meta, she's usually up there in the upper echelon of champions to pick.
Yeah, Braum or Bard are usually the two that you see in response to a Jhin. Of course, one blocks the damage, one negates the damage. Wouldn't be surprised to see the opposite picked up on the flip side, though.
The desk was giving Juves props on that Nidalee game, and looks like he will be playing it once again, so similar jungle style, and the Bard actually being locked in for Rogue. Interesting.
Yeah, so we saw the Game 1 strength out of Juves on this Nidalee. His goal was essentially to heal the entire time on Rymeister. I mean, it makes sense. He was a Rise. It's a different strategy this time around, though. And it's still going to have to be a priority target that he actually looks towards healing. I think Sin is a 4-man roster. Just need to round it out with a stock standard team composition that we come to expect from them. But what we have seen is that this is a 3-man unit of a Jhin, Nidalee, and Bard. Their wave clear is actually already a little bit lacking.
Yeah.
It's dangerous to actually get to the front line, clear the waves. They're squishy, where they can actually be dove by what is already a Braum, Sivir, and Rek'Sai on the flip side of Legacy. So my initial thoughts is that Rymeister is going standard, something like a Victor.
It's a great point to mention here. So this is where it gets interesting. What do Legacy lock in for their top lane and mid lane? Right now hovering the Gangplank and LeBlanc with a second remaining, changes to the Victor.
There you go, taking the Victor away. Gangplank, however, for Tally. We're in the patch where item builds have actually swapped around. Duskblade of Drakthar is actually even considered for Gangplank in the top lane.
Cool.
The armor penetration build seems to be the way to go. Trinity Force into Ghostblade or more of Malmortius. You're basically Jhin, but a keg weaver. And it makes you much more of a duelist in that respect. So I'll be curious to see how Tally goes on this, and if that's the build that he does look towards, or if he goes traditional Infinity Edge afterwards.
Well, let's see what Rhymeister has his sights set on. You mentioned he would have liked to see him on that Victor to provide his team with the wave clear necessary to survive, but it got taken away at the last minute by a Legacy.
So, yeah, I was literally about to say Zed is the response to Gangplank every single time. Legacy are notorious for doing this. Rhymeister is a fantastic Zed player. It was actually banned from him, I believe, in the second week of the OPL.
Sure.
Because in the first week of the OPL, he played it once. And that was the last time he was going to see that for a while. And to no surprise, he does lock that.
Well, that's what happens when you focus so heavily onto one single composition, which seems to be how Legacy's ban phase has been going throughout the night, leaving up the Shen and the Zed available for Sin Gaming.
Yeah, so a lot of strong champions. And we do have to bring up the initial point that we actually raised for Sin, in that their wave clear is not safe.
Yeah, still a bit lackluster.
Maybe the Jhin. Of course, Nidalee can keep you healthy. Bard's got heals as well. So they're sustainable. But then you have to look at the dive that's capable for Legacy. Braum, Rek'Sai, a lot of champions there where you'd look at it and say, well, they can pretty much dive you if you're ever out of position. So it comes to that setup.
With Legacy pull the trigger with that Sivir, it's going to be very hard for them to get away from the Braum. The Gangplank ulti in the backline, slowing, cutting off everyone's escape. And of course, if you guys liked what you saw in game number 1, hashtag LGC win. Or if you want Sin to go all the way and be our new OPL Legends, hashtag Sin win.
Yeah, Sin starting this one 1-0 up. And I'm going to say surprisingly, but they were outspoken themselves on social media. Juves loves a good bant.
That's right.
On Twitter. And he said that he can do it, but 1-0 up, great way to start it.
That's exactly right, and they've gotten kind of the dream composition here. That 1-3-1 should be utilized in full effect with Shen up in the top, Zed doing his own thing against the Gangplank. So this is what Sin are famous for. Let's see if they can utilize it and show everyone why.
Well, they have to get there first, though, right? So the Zed now going up against the Victor in that middle lane as we come out onto the Rift will be the big question mark tainting this team. Rhymeister needs to snowball, Juves needs to help him do that. That is just the Sin way.
Alrighty guys, we are into game number 2. Legacy faltered in game number 1 and Sin took full advantage of that, but already 5 members of Legacy got their sights set onto Juves and he's going to run with his tail literally between his legs. Does get hit by the Winter's Bite. Shouldn't matter. Gets the movement speed from the brush.
Now Legacy looking for a forward advance to place down that vision. Perhaps the lane swap is where they go. But maybe they want the standard because it's a Gangplank. And he does okay when it comes to clearing jungle camps and jungle with a Rek'Sai.
Legacy just brute force their way in, get all the vision that they want. Of course, in response, Sin do the same.
So Squiggle already snuck past, though. He's very much at that turret, standing there. We'll see how Legacy respond, because he's already hidden. He might get spotted in a second, though. Nah. I didn't see a ping. I'm giving it a... Okay, he's going to get spotted now.
There we go. Should be in the same brush as the ward, but should be a stock standard start here for both teams, as we see Raps and Rogue heading down to the bot lane.
And so that's actually a small thing, but what Shen just did was had the sword on the other side of the double golem. Just for reference, you put it there earlier, you hit it through stuff, you know, do more bonus damage. Cool little detail, so credit to Squiggle for that.
Always cool to see little techs developing for specific champions here. Rhymeister already forced back, but that's the bane of existence when you are a lowly melee up against a big, fearsome range champion, especially Victor with a Q at level 1.
Have you been watching Smash or something?
A little bit.
Tex. On to you. Juves with an early invade, though.
Should be able to secure this one with no smite available. Actually goes to Carbon. No, Juves. Looked like Carbon got it.
Yeah, Juves has the execute, of course, with W and Q. Means that if he uses the pounce, gets in there, and then execute it with his Q, there's no way in a battle where neither of them have smite that Carbon should be able to beat Juves. So very well done, honestly, from Sin's jungler. Quick, adaptive movements. Working through places of what seems like no vision from Legacy, even though that level 1 control was there.
I think the Twitter banter was something along the lines of chasing you through the jungle, so already doing that justice is Juves in game number 2, taking away the blue buff.
That's right, takes one buff in front of Carbon's face. Carbon, not a big fan of that. Yeah, he's a very adamant jungler and saying that you come into my jungle, I will fight you. And so I'd expect shots to continue to fly from this point out.
Unfortunately, Rhymeister does miss the cannon as it goes down to the minions. His full combo, not enough just yet.
Smacking Rhymeister, however. And so there's lane control. It is a 5 CS advantage to choose. And that could actually grow quite quickly because of the poke.
Yeah, constantly hitting these lasers. Great accuracy, of course, coming out of Choose. Rye forced a last hit with those shurikens at afar.
Yeah, it's easier to poke with the laser in lane with Choose, but if Rhymeister ever comes back at you, you have to use the Q for the shield as Carbon.
Rolls reverse here, just sneaking around, gets vision on Juice, so they know he's coming.
I see you.
Going to be setting up for a counter gank here as Juice. He's on the wrong side of the map, flashes in. Carbon gets the first kill as Choose picks up first blood and repaid already.
Don't make the Carbon angry.
No.
You won't like him when he's angry. Legacy now get double buffs onto Choo Choo, is now 1-0 up in this laning phase against the Zed, who was already struggling in the way of health values. That's all 3 potions burnt. Choose hasn't burnt a single thing, and he is very happy in this middle lane. Juice, he upset the man.
Choose gets double buffs off that as well as the first blood bounty. So Rye really struggling in this lane already. Going to be finding it even more difficult should red buffs continuously being applied.
Yeah, this is rough. Legacy look entirely different in this game because they're in standard opposed to a lane swap. There's no way for Sin to be coy or play the map, as this is, I believe, is just Juice coming in to help clear waves even. Choose wants it.
He's really struggling here to find anything. Look at Choose, though, coming in, gets the red buff, gets the laser, just picking his target priority so well.
Yeah, Choose knows he can 1v2 that. Again, they were doing that for the purpose of wave clear so that Rhymeister can get back to base. This gives a good opportunity for Choose to push it out, get more CS in his favor than recall with his kill, and have a lot of items, because this man will have a lot of items. It's like probably 1,500 gold in his back pocket.
Yeah, he's going to be feeling very good when he goes back to lane, upgrades his Hex Core and then some. Juice making his way over, gets a nice deep pink. Looks to go for the Raptor camp here. Good job at warding. Maybe he might swing down to this bot lane in a bit.
Nice done, yeah.
Grenades bounce the other way. Unfortunate for Raps. No extra damage on that one.
A lot of pressure can come out of a lane with a Braum and a Bard. The damage in particular is the standout feature. The stun hits, there's always a crit. That's where it can come back to bite you as we might be seeing an early rotation. It looks like another Infernal Drake, so that would be where the priority definitely lies. Once Squiggle hits 6 perhaps, which is now.
No stun coming through from Rogue, and unfortunately, the bane of the Jhin player has to reload always at the wrong times. So Kuden just walks his way out. Still rocking those double buffs. As I say that, they will time out, of course. Choose went back, got himself some boots, an amp tome, and an upgraded Hex Core. So the advantage is well and truly on this Victor right now.
And one of the lanes we haven't actually highlighted is the one we're currently observing. Tally playing Gangplank. One of the few times you'll actually see this champion in competitive play seems to be when Tally's rocking it. And so far, so good for the man.
They're doing a great job of stacking up those Silver Krakens to ensure he can get his ulti up. But look, Rhymeister in, gets exhausted immediately. Carbon's also there. Rye does have to go back. Stand United use. Flash comes through to safety though.
That's funny, the Gangplank ultimate had more pressure than the Shen's ultimate did. In a situation where Rhymeister then had to flash. He was doing that for the purpose of winning a trade. He did not win that trade, but he did get an exhaust at least out of Choose, so there is assassination as a threat in mid. Whilst Rhymeister had to use his own, to be fair.
Rye sitting on that Hex Drinker now, so a little bit of an easier time surviving in lane. Also got a rejuvenation bead to kind of deal with the poke that is inevitably going to be incoming from Choose.
There is a lot of poke. I feel like the Zed pick has its merits, but at this point in the game, to actually utilize it in any way is impossible.
Sure.
And to get it towards that mid game, which was the big question mark we had on it, is already rough. Tally's still farming, so I feel like there's the potential 1v1 there anyway.
And he's heard it. Legacy, they don't like to go down without a fight. They know how to recuperate and come back into a series, and already looking very, very strong despite that early blue buff steal from Juves. Hasn't gone for any repeat invades just yet.
Yeah, and at this point in the game, Legacy have slowed it down so much that Sin feel hyphy trying to get things done. But they can't get anything done. Remember, at about this time last game, they actually just grouped up mid as 5 and just made pick after pick. That momentum's out the window. Back to grassroots League of Legends. Fundamentals are the most important part here, and Legacy are putting in work.
Speaking of fundamentals, Legacy getting themselves a nice early gold lead on 1.3k at the moment. You can see just the CS discrepancies coming through in that mid lane. And the bot.
Yeah, a lot of lanes are ahead just from farming. Again, that standard laning seems to be benefiting the side of Legacy. Carbon also feels like he has a lot more pressure against Juves. As Squiggle's putting down the hurt.
Yeah, he's really dishing out the damage. Of course, Tally only sitting on a Sheen, so no real combat stats to speak of. Just a little bit of mana.
And I think it was the Fervor of Battle that he also picked up, not Grasp of the Undying from memory.
Well, that's very cool then.
I mean, again, that duelist build is the likely outcome of that.
No way that poor Juves can contest that. Juves gets a nice reset on his blue buff, and Carbon well and truly in control of the entire jungle.
Just a wandering spear is all you're going to see there. There's one cool thing, I guess, about the Shen in competitive League of Legends is the way that it forces teleports out of your opponent. And so Tally gets pushed out. Squiggle can afford to teleport, and it prompts the top lane opponent to use theirs, otherwise they fall behind in lane, right? Use that, and now Squiggle has his ultimate again. Something that Tally can have, but it doesn't put him present in the area. And that's a window of opportunity for Sin to get something happening. Right now, it looks like they actually just want to get Tally.
They've got their sight set on this top lane. No minion wave to speak of, as there it is, comes crashing in. Tally, great heads up play. Backs off out of this one. Doesn't want to risk anything.
That was, yeah. I mean, that looked like just shot calling from Legacy. They know that Zed was missing. They didn't even see him walk through that river. It was entirely cleaned out. Whoa, that's a Shen on
look
top
at
of
that. Shen comes in on top of the Zed, but the damage gets answered immediately by this Legacy squad. Squiggle one more tick of the Chaos Storm. Not going to be enough as Juves tries to come in the wings immediately. Chu says, get out of here.
Yeah, even Juves runs away from it. Juves does so much damage right now. He is a big deal for Legacy. But Seeker's Arm Guard helps out with the armor that he gets, and it's a cute strategy, the Shen and the Zed.
Yeah.
They'll always get on top of you. The question is at what cost, and this time around Legacy come out ahead with the numbers disadvantage.
Yeah, very reminiscent of the Twitch Submarine-esque style. Just all of a sudden you've got a Shen and a Twitch in your face. This time it's a Zed and a Shen, despite their lore of actually hating each other.
Yeah, it's a lot less of the Submarine because it's blatantly obvious. It's more like a hello boys, where he just rocks up.
A lot of damage coming through. Procs the Hex Drinker actually, so he's not going to have that available for quite some time. Might give Choose a window of opportunity to go for a kill here.
So big in this middle lane, and again the slower pace of League of Legends still complementing Legacy. They get the Drake, they have the gold advantage, they're winning this 2v2. They're still farming decently well in that top lane as well, all things considered. And their power point that they can pivot around was now the weak point of their last game.
Slow animation on the Dancing Grenade makes it a very easy spell shield for King to pick up, get himself a little bit of mana. Down in the bot, Kuden and King just controlling this lane very, very well. About 30 CS up at the moment, so Raps and Rogue struggling. Completely night and day from last game.
Yeah, remember last game was a 27-minute Sin victory. Now the tides have turned. Sin definitely still going to be running a much more conventional Sin 1-3-1 composition, however. As you look at the cause for concern in that respect, how they execute the 1-3-1, well, you send 3 people mid, Choose can probably kill them.
Carbon making his presence known in this top lane. Don't know if they have kill pressure.
Not at all.
Just going to do a little bit of damage and kind of say hi.
Yeah, just saying what's up, hello.
Chucks out a Prey Seeker for good measure.
I was gonna say, that was a weird gank, but yeah, He needs the recall anyway, Carbon, I'd imagine.
Sure.
Wants to get his Cinderhulk. Looks to actually be pressuring, however, the enemy red buff as Juves is looking at mid lane for a dive. That's,
oh, no. That's heartbreaking.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Deep breaths.
Got no words, Rusty.
like
As a
Family
fellow
Guy.
Bard player, I can feel some of Rogue's pain right now. As I'm sure he said, I'm going to ult the tower. But regardless, Carbon may have been caught here. Does he have the tunnel available? Doesn't look like it. Juve is straight on top of him. Not going to connect with anything. Tunnels back around. Here comes Choose in the back of that one. They pick it up, and this should be a massive double kill for the victor. Now, Rye, he's in the creek without a paddle. So low. Tally flashes over now. It's Juves versus the Pirate. Kuden there from bot lane. All of a sudden, he's in the top. Do they want to go for this dive? Not just yet.
No, they're not looking for the dive. Maybe stop Juves' recalls. We'll see how he plays this, because Juves is not exactly on the right side of the rift. He'll walk it out. That was, again, Carbon looks aggressively, gets the buff. Juves tries to match it. They try and trade. The amount of damage that comes out of Choo Choos is just unreasonably large. And now they start to snowball the rift, not just the middle lane. Jungle to top.
Yeah, the damage that Choose is dishing out right now is completely incomparable for anyone on the side of Sin to match at all. Meanwhile, King, he just allowed free time in the bot lane with already a big CS lead over Raps, his opponent, who tried to go for the 1v1. As we can see, the curtain call is on cooldown. Wasn't able to utilize that, though.
Yeah, just didn't get it done. Unfortunately, he is falling a little bit far behind. Probably have much more of an impact than what we saw from King in game number 1 on Jin, for what it's worth. Because that was very non-impactful. He actually tickled people with his bullets, and I've never seen a bullet tickle somebody. But, you know, there's a first for everything.
That's exactly right here. He does have his Ghost Blade done at a reasonable time where, of course, King getting that Essence Reaver now, so quite a ways ahead in terms of items also. I think 19 or 9 stacks left on that cull. Choose gets donated the blue buff. Quite gracious from Tally.
Yeah, and Tally's just going to go back and not get his cannon minion, but still in a very convincing position, Legacy, as they move further into this game. The gold lead hasn't stretched too unreasonably large. We said this about the last one, but the Infernals are still in their control, and Juve and Rogue.
Carbon very, very strong right now. Here comes Kuden. They've got the snare. A nice tempered fate, actually, but it's not going to matter as one Bard order was all it took for him to lay down the Winter's Chill. Rymeister now in the firing line. He's got the ult set on him.
Not sure how the Tempered Fate didn't actually connect with Juves there. We'll just take it as it is.
He's a magical champion, Bard. He's very, very... They're making up for the one that it connected onto Rymeister.
Yes, and he waved his wizard wand and decided that it will not hit the person
his hobo
close
horn.
to the hitbox. Yes, his hobo horn.
Oh, no.
Now the dive and
yeah,
bottom.
They're just going to get taken straight out. Look at the Death Daughter from Gangplank doing that true damage. Raps with no hope. A nice double kill for Choose.
Squiggle has to teleport him because the ult wasn't available also, and Legacy now find themselves a fairly simple and clean-cut dive. As Tally's even here to defend middle lane at the perfect time.
Rye just gets chunked.
Yeah. So Zed still has kill threat onto Tally.
Sure.
There's definitely the 1v1 there, but if that damage continues more than once, that's basically half his health bar gone. Using Choose, honestly, as this pivot point for Legacy is where they've always excelled in League of Legends. At this point, Carbon's the one fighting for vision control. They establish that control, and if they don't get it, they fight for it. And that's where Choose comes into play, is their trump card.
Great rotational play by Legacy. They always seem to be the first responders on scene. Sin just trailing behind time and time again. But Choose, he's currently 4-0-2, still sitting on the arm guard, but he's completed his Hex Core. So they've got their sights set on him. Can they do it? Rymeister comes in. He might have kill threat here. Choose, he's about to pop. No! He's alive. There it is, the shutdown going across to the Zed. Now Carbon will be the next one to fall. Should they do it? One more attack. The spear actually goes wide on the tail. No, they don't get him. He just runs away.
Oh, they decided not to chase any further. One pick that should have been 2, maybe even 3, given Tally's health bar, is only Choo Choo Z. Rymeister, you can see the damage that he's still capable of outputting, and he gets out alive. This is now good timing to pressure the middle lane. Legacy are trading, but I don't know if it'll amount to too much.
Tally's teleported into the mid lane to help save that one, and you can see the wave clear from Gangplank is there, but it's not enough to save the tower. So Sin showing that they're still in this. Find a pick on to choose, translate that into a mid lane tower, kind of close the gold gap a little bit, but meanwhile King just being left alone here.
Yeah, exactly. And King being left alone has now put himself 50 CS ahead, as well as getting the turret. And the end result of this is actually so positive for Legacy. But we are seeing those glimmers of hope that Sin are entirely capable of doing.
Another Infernal Drake here, so really this game is already explosive enough as it is. But Summoner's Rift trying to tell us something here. The Ocean Drake will be the next one to cool things off after that. Once again, Rhymeister, he's now in split push duty by the look of it. Has finished his Ghost Blade, so should be able to contest anyone that comes up.
And awkwardly enough, I feel like Rhymeister can't split push too prevalently in this team. They kind of need him there. And his wave clear, surprisingly, as Zed's the most valuable asset in his kit. And then he can kill Choo-Choos. It's such a weird, the drafting of Sin is sometimes so predictably awkward that you can exploit it.
Sure.
And I say awkward because we even said it in the drafting phase.
Yeah.
Like, they could round this out with either a tank in the jungle position or some wave clear perhaps to keep them alive. Azir, I believe, was banned. Even LeBlanc has wave clear, albeit not safe. And Zed is basically the physical version of LeBlanc. So the wave clear is there, but it's not safe. Also means that Rhymeister can't afford to split push religiously.
He's been spotted by Carbon. Just runs him around the loop. King pops on the hunt here. Rogue comes through the magical journey to keep him safe, but they've got their sights set on this top lane inner. Can Rhy and Rogue defend for now?
They can for now. I think the mid lane out is the actual goal by pushing Rhymeister top lane.
It's a great strategy and it's working out efficiently.
Juice is bottom right now, farming.
Well, we've seen this story before. Rap's trying to wave clear with the Jhin ultimate and instantly gets blocked by Kuden, so forced to cancel that one early. Choose gets hit by the Tempered Fate, no stun to follow it up. Bot lane tower does fall to the likes of Juves and Squiggle, with a good chunk of damage by Legacy in the mid lane.
I mean, effectively a 1-for-1 in turrets, but it doesn't look like Legacy are slowing down. No Jhin ulti, no Bard ulti.
Oh, but this could be bad. King gets caught out by a beautiful stun from Rogue. Not just the Thresh God, but Bard also another stun on top of that.
Huge.
A double kill, a triple kill for Rhymeister, looking to make it a quadra. Carbon, you've got a long road to travel if you want to get out of this one.
He does actually get himself out, depending on how... That's so awkward. That was actually the most awkward thing I think I've ever watched, and I've seen Squiggles teleport earlier in the split.
Let's just let him die here. So we'll give Carbon a moment to think about his choices that led up to that Void Rush.
A moment of silence for Carbon. Sin, they get themselves a pick, but it's really just overshadowed by that play. I feel so bad for him. Welcome to your moment, Carbon. You've been posterized by Sin.
And they get themselves the Baron off what seemed to be Legacy having full control of the Rift. Sin just answer with a massive triple kill, turning into an unofficial quadra for the Zed. Gets the Baron. Tally does get a tower for his troubles, but could be looking bad for Legacy now.
So the gold is still actually 3k in favor of Legacy. It feels like whilst there is a Baron, you have to look at how much Sin can effectively get from this. It could mean that Legacy are now in for the long haul to try and secure themselves this game. But a 5-1 Rhymeister, someone that looks definitely in form in this series at the very least, could be setting Sin up very well for success in this series.
Yeah, when he's there, you mentioned. They don't want him off split pushing because he's such a vital role and the heart of this team that they need to kind of win these team fights. So looks like he may just come back and have to be in the heart of the team.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting part of this draft is, yes, it 1-3-1s, but the way that it should actually work is that Squiggle's the split pusher threat.
Yeah.
And once Squiggle gets that wave going, Rhymeister comes in to fight with the team, and then they actually just Shen-ult him to keep him up.
Yeah, we just got a brief pause here, guys. That game was too awesome for us to handle. A big quadra kill coming out, maybe Carbon's ulti.
That's why.
Yeah, Carbon's ulti actually being a little bit too questionable there.
But no, we are definitely in a pause, and it may not be because that game was too awesome, but there is a pause nonetheless. But yes, let's take stock of what's happened so far.
It's been a great game for Legacy so far. They've just been completely dominating the map through Carbon's aggression in the jungle, finding picks, allowing Choose to just get bigger and bigger, more and more ahead, and all of a sudden just seem to come undone when Rymeister comes into the fight, of course, off a beautiful stun that Rogue set up.
Yeah, absolutely. Sin looking to, I guess, team fight what Legacy have had to offer, but Legacy have played the game slow since minute 1. They've looked towards the 2 Infernal Drakes they've actually secured, so that helps a lot with their late game snowballing. They should have a very good team fight the later the game progresses, but we're yet to really see King actually have an influence in the game besides taking turrets and last hitting minions. I think that's actually the big changing factor and turning point for Legacies when they get that 5-man Chaos Storm with a Sivir damaging people.
Yeah, they really have the team fight kind of written in stone for how it's going to go. The Chaos Storm comes down, Ricochet just bouncing through. He's got himself the Phantom Dancer now, so a ton of crit on top of that. But here comes Sin with Baron-empowered minions on the top lane.
It's a really cool composition from Sin again. I quite like it. It still feels like it's their flavor. Nidalee Spears with Jhin poke.
It's very cool.
We've got the Zed Shen as the all-in, and Bard, which is a happy medium between those two, where you can poke, you can pick, you can engage, or you can disengage, and you even have heals for sustain. Such a good champion. As this is a good opportunity, I guess. This is Sin's chance for a power play to try and get themselves back into the scoreboard for gold.
Squiggle actually gets that tower down as Tally was quite late to the party. They needed him elsewhere on the top of the map to ensure that that one doesn't fall, but losing an inner to survive an outer. Maybe a worrying trend here for Legacy.
Not a great trade. Also, last fight, Choo-Choo's had his Zonias. And that Victor just didn't get to use it.
I think he got Bard stunned immediately.
Yeah, so team play from Sin actually quite important, and that was, again, like the way Rymeister played that. He's making his own highlight reels. They're now pushing bottom.
Yeah, it looks like they're just going to get
no way.
Squiggle to tank it, but
He's
unfortunately
dead.
it's Rymeister who tanks it up, and maybe a play to rival Carbons, who knows?
This game is being one-off capitalization of mistakes. Granted, the people doing it, doing it well. This time around, Tally gets one. Rymeister was 5-1, is now 5-2. And the Zed has shown that he is not invincible more than once.
Got himself that Black Cleaver now, so the armor pen build is well and truly in effect, but Tally sitting 2-0-3 on the gangplank. Picked up a Ghost Blade of his own. What do they usually go after that, Rusty? It's been interesting since...
It could be more of Malmortius, but there's not a lot of physical damage that he'll be up... magic damage that he'd be up against, so perhaps he goes towards the Duskblade of Drakthar.
Cool.
If it's not that, then I would imagine standard Infinity Edge Phantom Dancer type of build.
Does Duskblade only proc off auto attacks?
Yeah, but you still... So it's a dueling build because you have a Ghost Blade. The reason you get that Ghost Blade is not just for armor penetration, it's because you plan on auto-attacking people.
Right, very, very cool stuff coming out of Tally, and that blood, the BF Sword does build into that Duskblade, so very potential item choice here. Ocean Dragon has been started by the Legacy squad. Is anyone in position to fight for it?
No, they don't want to, so Sin give this one up, and weirdly enough, Deja Vu of Drake's being taken as the end result for Sin is actually that they damage these structures. They've got Shen working top all the same, but that's a big flank potentially from Carb.
Has to tunnel his way out of that one. Squiggle's already on the tower. Looks like Baron has timed off for now. Good spell shield. That would have been damaging.
Yeah, it was actually a very good spell shield. Legacy pushed them back. Now they're engaging.
Oh, there's a cannon barrage out of Gangplank. Raps caught up with no way of escape. Squiggle and Juves, they both have a way to get over the wall. One kill for nothing as Legacy capitalized.
But they're pushing mid lane all the same. So Legacy capitalizing on this is actually putting them towards the top side, defending nothing, just getting kills. And yes, they can rinse and repeat that. But what you want to see from this Legacy side is doing that when they're in favor on the map in the way of control. Still on the back foot because that Baron buff was there for Sin. Now that's out the window. Legacy should have opportunities as Rymeister's about to die probably.
He's sitting on a ward. Luckily, Juves did smite away the Raptor camp, helping his buddy out. As Kuden comes in, clears out a few wards with the help of King, but it's going to be so hard for Sin if they're up way too far in any lane. Gangplank ulti behind on the hunt in front. They're going to have to find some walls to jump over. It's going to be the end.
Yeah, they have to stand and deliver, I think, if they're ever caught out of position. No point walking into the Gangplank ultimate.
Of course.
Raps is a long enough range champion that ideally he wouldn't be in it in the first place. I think the best case scenario for Sin is hitting a spear.
Oh no, Raps
Ooh.
flashes out of that one. Spear comes down onto Carbon. Curtain call. Do they want to fight? There's no one in position. Just getting some eyes. Narrowly avoids that one.
Splits the wicket with the fourth one, no crit.
Legacy grouped as 5 in this top lane. Tempered Fate not available just yet. Squiggles in the fight, goes in, gets stunned up by the gravity field. There is the Zed in the backline, instantly gets knocked up, exhausted to boot. Look at that massive 5-man ultimate coming from Rogue. It's not done yet. Juve's in the fight. Chaos Storm just shredding through everyone. A double kill for King.
Rogue's doing as much as he can, but it's not actually enough because Legacy had already won the team fight by that point. Rymeister goes in, Rymeister dies. Squiggle did not have his ultimate either to keep anybody healthy throughout that, and that was the one big strategy Sin were implementing earlier in this game. Looks like it'll be the inhibitor though. Legacy bounce back. Yeah,
Legacy, a great team fight, and now that they have King, their carry, who is quite a bit ahead of the opposition's one, really just turns a tide in their favor. 53,000 of 47,000. Legacy holding a very strong lead here.
Quite a bit is an understatement. He is 80 CS ahead and 4-1 to 0-2. We do get the honor of seeing this one again. Of course, Squiggle kicks it off with a nice taunt onto King. That's where it all breaks out, but Kuden already had the tower. King tries to go down to Rymeister, and all we get here is a highlight reel of a sick Bard ulti that means nothing because everyone has to run away. Juice actually wastes his shield looking for King, who just comes back in the end to kill them anyway.
It would be nice to have Curtain Call available for that fight, considering how far Rogue had to sit, Raps rather, had to sit
They might
back.
have them here.
Oh, Raps
popping
that Ghost Blade, but the Chilling Smite should be enough. Stand United not going to matter as Raps dies alone. And now King got his sight set on this mid tower, should take it down. Rymeister, no answer.
Raps constantly getting caught at the moment. There's nothing he can do when he's tagged by a Braum Q or a Rek'Sai knock-up, and this time around it was even just the Chilling Smite from that Rek'Sai. Legacy now looking to seed their second inhibitor. Well, starts with this turret.
Well, minions haven't really found their way into the base just yet, but look at the damage coming out of the Gangplank, but it doesn't matter. Carbon's in the fight with Chaos Storm, burning down every single member in the backline. Carbon just completely zoning away at Squiggle. He is no match for the Legacy onslaught.
And there's just no carries, honestly, on the side of Sin in this game. You compare this to game number 1, and it feels like the shoe is on the other foot. They could look towards closing this one, but it's going to be difficult to do with 3 people still alive.
Kuden just blocks out the majority of the Curtain Call damage. They've got their sights set on the prize. On the hunt has been popped. Everyone getting movement and attack speed, shredding these towers like butter. The Nexus is open and undefended, and Legacy tie it up 1-1 against Sin Gaming.
A 27-minute game 1 and a 29-minute game number 2 basically means that Legacy take your victory and raise you the exact same thing. So honestly, that was impressive from Legacy to close out as well as quickly as they did.
Yeah, fast and concise out of both teams, knowing their win conditions and executing them perfectly. Sure, Legacy, they had a little bit of a hiccup when Rai all of a sudden came in with a triple kill, but at the end it didn't matter as the bot lane King was so far ahead of his opposition.
Yeah, still glimmers of hope for Sin, but the old strategy did not prove as fruitful as the new one that they played in game number 1. I believe that would be safe to say.
Yeah, well, we're going to send it back to the desk to let us know what they thought of game number 2.
Thanks so much, Rogi. And with that, it is going to be Legacy bringing it back to a 1-1. Pretty commanding win, actually, over Sin. And, you know, they get the 3 standard lanes. They extend the laning phase for, I think, 14 minutes in the end, and they just start building these huge gold leads.
I mean, yeah, that was just like a day and night performance by Legacy there. Like the first game, they look a bit off. They're just walking in one by one. And then that game, they get the standard lanes. And I mean, Sin's comp, it's like you can look at it and you kind of know what they want to do, especially with Rai on Zed. Like they're going to want to try get him snowballed, and they tried to do that a few times, and I think they just didn't play it right.
Yeah, and before the last time we were talking, pretty much we talked about how what Legacy needed to do pretty much was they just need to give themselves some wave clear, you know, be able to like clear safely if that composition ever comes out. In fact, what they end up doing is they ban that composition right out. Like they say, we don't want to deal with it. We don't trust ourselves in that scenario to be able to handle it. And then they just like give themselves Victor and Sivir. So
yeah, so a lot of safe wave clear in that composition, although we did see exactly what Sin's comp wanted to do in that game, especially in one situation. Got to give credit to Rogue because he set it up very nicely. You know, in the mid lane, they are able to bring it back. So even though we have another team tonight getting these huge advantages early game, credit to Sin because they did get the team fight they were looking for and they grabbed the Baron off the back end.
Yeah, and I mean, that team fight was, I'm pretty sure King's Spell Shield was on cooldown because he blocked something before, but he walked up to hit the tower, Rogue hits like a binding, and then, I mean, yeah, that's just King being mispositioned and like really good job on like Rogue for, you know, catching that out.
Yeah, and that was really a miracle team fight in my opinion. They were really down in every lane, and every time they tried to execute mid, basically their strategy is looking at dive. And even when Zed came topside to look for basically to get something, right? Then Legacy was like, all right, well, Tally's just gonna back away, and then we're just gonna pretty much like deny, wait, like mid. And
Rek'Sai just walks mid. They start hacking away at the tower, and yeah, they just get small advantages off like these small, I guess, like misplays, I guess, from Sin, and yeah.
A little bit more of a stranglehold put in place by Legacy means that they do pick up the Game 2 victory. However, guys, don't go anywhere because after the break in 3.5 minutes, we're going to find out the victor in this best of 3 of Sin versus Legacy.